Hello everyone, a very good morning. Thank you so much for investing your time with us on a on a Sunday morning. Welcome to today's session, Heroes in Media and Journalism. Today we have an amazing panel on the impacts of media towards women, where we'll be talking about how women can gain achievements through the media industry and how impactful it can be. But before we dive in, I'd like to introduce today's panelists. First off, we have Ms. Chiranji. Chiranji Tisera. She is the founder and CEO of Consult Ed LLC, a corporation providing organizational leadership guidance to navigate business towards success. She is armed with 2 decades of organizational leadership expertise with an emphasis on media, marketing, communication, strategic planning, and management. Chiranji has served in the capacity of head of school, direct marketing and digital fundraising manager as well as on-air producer. The list of former employers consists of Georgia Public Broadcasting, California State University, Fresco, West Virginia University, and Walt Disney World. Chiranji feeds her passion for education media through the production of storytime videos for her YouTube channel and authoring children's books. She holds a BA in psychology from California State University, Fresco, and an MA in educational leadership from West Virginia University, along with a certificate in human research from Disney University. Welcome, Chiranji.
Thank you, Nathalie, for that lovely introduction.
And also next up we have Sarah Faisal. Sarah Faisal started her career in business development, which later expanded towards brand management at Raw Global. She brings in new partnerships and works with brands and non-governmental organizations to produce documentaries and campaigns. She is currently the client partner at Raw Global. Welcome, Sarah. And next up we have Fiona. Fiona Nanayakkara has become one of the most sought-after communications professionals of her time. She is the founder of corporate communications agency News Publisher. Newspublisher.online is the first and only press release distribution system in Sri Lanka. The company creates content for a variety of industries and work with companies who abide by triple bottom line and use platforms such as mainstream media, social media, and online to reach relevant audiences. In 2019, Fiona was also awarded the most influential content marketer at the World Marketing Congress. She has an MBA from University of Buckinghamshire, UK, as well, and also she authored the first self-help manual, BooleanAmp.co, providing coping methods to overcome workplace harassments while maneuvering Sri Lankan corporate minefield. She is also currently reading for her PhD at Sri Jayawardena University of Sri Lanka. She hopes to contribute to the marketing industry knowledge through her research and social media influencer credibility. So welcome, Fiona, as well.
Thank you so much. I'm having a technical error in starting the video. I will sort that out soon. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining.
So now that we have a clear introduction for our panelists, let's dive into the questions. So in media, what do women in media learn as career benefits for their lives? This is a general question for all three of you.
I can go ahead and take that. First, let me thank NIBM Road Track Club for having me in this panel. And as far as media and the benefits towards career, I would say one of the biggest benefits is the confidence that you gain, because it's a rapidly changing environment and it's a fast-paced industry. So anybody who is in that industry learns to manage their time well. They have to navigate through a lot of obstacles and challenges in trying to keep up with the changes. And also you become more confident in your abilities and the knowledge, the skills that you gain, the technical skills, as well as the knowledge, the literacy knowledge that you do have that is required for the job, regardless of which area in the industry you are in. You need to be able to speak well, you need to be able to read and understand and articulate what you have read. So overall, it's the level of confidence, I would say.
Thank you, Chiranji. Ms. Sarah?
I think, like Chirangi said, I think confidence is definitely something that that it provides, because when I first came here, I didn't know anything at all. and just kind of, learning how to, articulate and kind of present something in like, in the best way possible, and just like learning to navigate that space is definitely, it also teaches you a lot about yourself, and just how to work better in teams, because when it comes to media, there's certain level of creativity involved, and you always have to work with other people to bring it to life, and just a lot of confidence in presenting yourself and your work, and that people will, because it's also the kind of thing where you put out your work for like on a platform for the world to see. So it definitely builds a lot of confidence.
Great. Fiona?
I think Chirangi and Sarah covered most of it. So I think we can move on to the next question and make this even more fruitful.
Sure. So, in your perspective, what are the key characteristics of journalism that women need to adapt to? I think Fiona, you could answer that.
Journalists, journalists as well as PR, because my industry is mostly PR. What I believe is the ability to understand a lot of information and keep an open mind and evolve with where the world is heading towards, and keep learning so that, we don't lose track of things ahead to come, because everything changes. Technology has changed a lot of things for us, and we always have to keep an open mind and have a learning atmosphere wherever we work with. So we don't, and especially in journalism, we are responsible for the information that we publish. So it's very important they learn and keep learning. Anyone else?
Thank you so much. Sarah, anyone else?
Yeah, sure. So one thing that I would say would be bravery, because I think that, as a woman, if you are a journalist and there is a story that, that you want to go after, I would like this. Two friends of mine who are all like both women, very young, they were interested in like the waste plants around Colombo. And one day we just planned this trip to check out this waste plant in like Puttalam, because there was some controversy around there. And we were just like, let's just drive. So the three of us just like went and met some activists in Puttalam who connected us with people somewhere else. And then we just like drove, and we just didn't have a plan, but then we just went after this kind of like story because, we were interested in it and didn't really think about, how like we're just three women, how are we going to do that? And just doing that actually ended up showing us that as women, it's also easier to like talk to people, people instantly like kind of are open to like conversing and giving you their stories. And then we ended up like connecting with a lot of women there, and just gave us a whole new perspective to this trip, because we were just three girls and everyone in the village treated as well, because the activists said that they might not speak to you, but then when we actually went, they ended up like really welcoming us and just surprised. And so yeah, use that feminine strength to your advantage and like really be brave and embody that.
Natalie, your mic is off.
Oh, sorry about that. So, Chiranji, anything to add to it?
Yes, I think Fiona and Sarah did a lovely job with their answers. I definitely think that adaptability and learning, being open to learning, and definitely courage comes into play. My area of expertise is in the media, the broadcast media industry. And along with those two qualities, you also have to have a passion towards what you're doing. To be, that's kind of something that I personally look at in anything that you do. If you don't have the passion, then you don't have the drive to achieve whatever it is that you need to achieve. And then adaptability is key. Like Fiona pointed out, you need to be able to learn things. If you don't learn, or you go with the assumption that what you learned in school or what you learned at the beginning of your job is going to get you far, then you're mistaken, because this is a changing industry. Every day there's new technology that comes into play. And if you are close to the idea that I already know everything, then you probably will not be successful. So those two items, along with assertiveness, again, back to the confidence, like Sarah said, you have to be able to explore new opportunities when it's presented. And that's part of this industry, as well as any industry for women, is you can go as far as you want to, as long as you have the assertiveness to ask the questions, to convince other people that this is the right way to do something. So that is my 2 cents about that.
Great. So basically, you need to have a lot of courage in order to pursue in this field in a small perspective, yeah? Okay, so moving on to the next question. What is the current status of women in media, and what have women achieved in this industry through media? Fiona?
I think the ladies in media can take this question.
Sure.
I would say that the roles of women in media has changed somewhat from being in front of the camera into being behind the scenes. You do get both aspects now. Women are more technically savvy than they used to be. They are in leadership roles, they're in management roles. This, however, doesn't always apply to all the countries, because depending on the culture of the country, women might not be portrayed the same way in media, or they might not have the same access to the education in media, or they might not even be given prominence to work in media. So I think what we would like to see is the openness to educating girls, women, and also having job opportunities that is equally applicable to both men and women in the industry, regardless. And you won't see a gender bias. It will be based on your abilities and your skills that you get hired for a job and then promoted from within the company or get to a better position.
Yeah, that is really great to hear such a thing. And Sarah?
I think Chirangi actually beautifully covered the whole thing. Like she said, women are not just in front of the camera anymore, and they're actually like behind the scenes. And I run into a lot of people in like media and advertising who are women, and they're able to bring a unique perspective to the table, where even if you're choosing a model, like what is going to be the metrics that how do we want to portray this brand? All these decisions and questions are also being answered by women at the table now, and it's bringing a whole new perspective to media, and that's pretty exciting.
Thank you, Sarah. The next question is something that might root you back into what made you pursue in the media industry. Any role models you had in your life? Sarah, you can go ahead with it.
Okay, I think for me, personally, I've anyway been I love watching TV shows. Like I grew up in that era. I'm 23 now, so I grew up in an era where TV shows and media was a big part of our lives, from pop culture to just growing up. And then immediately you're introduced to like social media and stuff. So that's where I figured the power of, being able to have your voice heard, and just what this could do. And that's when I started I started this page once because I was like really sad about some war or something. And I was just like, people need to come together. And I made this page on Facebook when I was like 13, and, found like a picture of a globe on Google and then put it as a page thing. So just growing up with it, I think and seeing how obsessed like my family was with like news and wanting to know, I think I just knew that this was an important part of our lives, and I was very fascinated with the voice it gives people. So that's what got me into media.
Great. Shriyanshi?
That was a brilliant story, Sarah. I think very inspirational. I actually stumbled on media all by accident because I was in education before and happened to realize that I had a knack for editing videos and producing videos. So I decided to take a chance and make a shift into broadcasting. I ended up in TV broadcasting, and I did everything from being in front of the camera to being behind the camera operating, to producing. And a lot of what I did was self-learned, and I was fortunate to come across individuals who are willing to support me in the learning process. So I managed to get my knowledge, acquired the knowledge that I needed to be in that industry, not just by myself, but also with the individuals who were currently in the industry, who were willing to guide me through the process. Later on, I ended up in the marketing side of media, and that was somewhat an eye-opening experience because you are now getting into the audience, why people watch the media and how they perceive it, and what you put in front of a person really matters. In public broadcasting, we were more about like Sesame Street and kids shows like that, and also Nova, and more of the education aspect of it. And it gave me a sense of satisfaction of being part of that. And I think that is what got me to continue in the broadcasting industry. Of course, now I'm kind of out of it, but I try to keep my feet wet, I would say, by doing my YouTube videos for kids.
Hello, can you all hear me?
Yes.
That was really great, very insightful as well. So basically, according to Sarah and Shriyanshi, there weren't any particular role models. It was all about experiencing by your own self, is it?
I would say I didn't necessarily have one role model. I modeled my behavior based on the role that I was in by observing and shadowing people in those positions. And I would say it also helps when you have females in lead roles in front of the camera. Like you get newscasters, you get journalists, you get actresses portraying these extremely powerful characters. So you kind of absorb little bits and pieces from how they conduct themselves, what is it that they do, and you get inspired. Like Sarah's story is very inspirational. Like she got inspired to do what she did as a young child because of what she saw in media. And the same way, I used to watch TV all the time. So it's if you are exposed to quality programs as a young child, then you get exposed to the idea of what it is that you can develop to be, like grow up to be. So for anyone who, later on in life, if you have children, that is something that I would recommend everybody to do, is to monitor the type of programs that you expose your kids to, because it really makes an impact on them.
Yes, thank you so much for that insightful answer.
And
Fiona?
like add something there, right? So
Yeah, sure.
you mentioned there are different role models, and everybody will have a different path to their inspiration in terms of joining any career path, right? But in terms of PR and media, I feel like leadership really matters. If you've had good leaders, you've been shaped by their thoughts. And I've noticed my writing to my speaking, everything has changed because of the CEOs I've had, who I've reported to, my style of thinking, my style of writing, to expressing myself. It changes, and then you evolve if you've had great leadership. So I know, the old generation would probably tell you, like, stick around a job just because it looks good on your CV. But I think now the younger HR professionals also would say, don't stick around a lot in a dead-end job for too long, because now it's about getting experience. Don't waste your 20s being understuck someone who, and especially if it's a bad leader who you're going to get, bad qualities in terms of ethics and so on. Don't stick around. Look for good leadership. Look for good mentors, because just because he or she is your immediate supervisor, just don't absorb all that negativity or what doesn't work for you.
Great. Thank you so much for that insightful answer from all three of you. It's really inspiring, and I hope it inspires our audience as well to pursue in, I guess, not in media, but in almost all the other careers as well. I think it can be adapted to other careers as well, being able to be open as well, as you mentioned, and researching on your own also. Moving on to the next question. As women in the media industry, share with us your journey in reaching your current position, and what were your obstacles to overcome? Sarah?
Okay. I think in the beginning for me, it was, mostly you realize that a lot of things are just limitations that you kind of set for yourself in your own head, in terms of what you can and cannot do. So I think one of the biggest things for me was to kind of face my own limitations for myself, and then kind of unlearn a lot of things about what a woman should be, what makes, all these questions around like women and what we're supposed to do and what we're not supposed to do, and to kind of take that leap of faith was just, that's one thing that I would say was like my obstacles, which was the limitations that I had set on for myself. Yeah. But apart from that, it can also be a little like crazy if you're a woman and you're young, because, kind of trusting people to like give you a job and kind of handle that you can handle it takes a lot of proving, in terms of proving yourself, and you have to maybe outwork people, and that it's okay. So to be able to make those decisions, you have to be kind of ready as well. But yeah, that's the one obstacle.
I would like to completely agree with Sarah on that, because being young and a woman, oh my God, the challenges that we face are, it's just crazy. It doesn't matter if it's just Colombo or the outskirts, so we have to eternally prove ourselves. And even after you leave, after 14 years in the industry, you start your own business. They're like, is this your first job? Why would I, start my, a career in PR as my first job, without any experience, no media contacts? It doesn't make any sense, right? So, it's eternally proving. So getting new businesses, and, when I meet a new client, it's just like taking them through my CV as to why I'm here sometimes, so that is a huge challenge. And in terms of women supporting each other also, right, this is very disappointing. um, Recently in the intellectual property office, right, it's a very sad story to say, actually. I went with a patent application 8 times, right? And it is for my media, basically the automation I have conducted for News Publisher for my company. And I'm trying to explain to this lady, and she's just not taking it. She's just not taking my application. And I fed another director of the company the exact same information. He's a finance guy, right? He has no idea about media, and he just went and told this lady the entire patent application, and she took the application, right? And it's really sad, women not supporting each other. We see this very, very often, and I thought, like, why, right? He had no idea about what I was talking about. He had no idea about the patent application. He was just literally, dubbing my script, right? And yeah, so these are a few challenges that we face. Women not supporting each other is a huge problem, and I think we need to change that. Chirangi?
Absolutely, yeah.
I agree with what Fiona and Sarah had just mentioned about, first of all, we as individuals, we as women have our own set of standards that we have, and that acts as a block when we try to pursue a career. And then other women do stand in the way of the progress of women. I got into the media industry at a more mature age. So I would say things are not so different with age. The fact that you are a woman in a media role has, I would say there's a negative connotation attached to women in general when it comes to being professional, because you're seen as weak when it comes to certain aspects. And then when you do have women who have accomplished themselves in the industry, who are at a higher standard, instead of being the cheerleaders for those who are starting out, some of them tend to block the growth of another person. And I think it might be because that they themselves have gone through a lot of turmoil and challenges to get to the position that they're in, that they want to make it hard on others, saying, you shouldn't have it easy because I had it hard, which is not the best approach for anyone to have when you're trying to support everyone to kind of get, we need more women in every industry. And it shouldn't just be just in media, but in every industry, because we have come a long way from being considered the weaker sex, being considered, seen as the domestic, the caregiver, and that's all that you do. Women are more than that. And for that notion to change, I think you need the support of other women as well as men. You cannot get to where you need to be without the support of both men and women. And I think the challenges that both Sarah and Fiona shared are definitely challenges that anyone in the media industry would go through, especially women. Additional to that, I think one of the challenges that I faced was the management of time and being available for my family, as well as whatever the task that I had to do to perform well in the media industry. Because like I mentioned earlier, media is a very challenging and demanding career. So you will have shifts that are midnight to 4 o'clock in the morning. It can be taking you outside your home area to do field reporting. So it varies. So you need the support of your family to be able to overcome that challenge. Because as long as you have people who understand the demand of your career and is willing to share responsibility with, let's say, raising your children or just attending to household chores or whatever it is that you are supposed to do. If there's support, then you can get through some of those challenges. So I think there's several challenges, but I feel like these three probably kind of hit the top spots.
Yes, that is very true. Ms. Fiona, do you have anything to add to it?
No, I think we covered it all, right?
Hello?
I think we covered it all.
Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I think we covered it all. We can move.
Yeah, sure. Also, for the audience, please look into the chat. There is a Google form. Please mark in your attendance. Thank you. As y'all mentioned about the obstacles y'all had and the challenges, with those challenges, how can a woman or female or men can seek job opportunities in the media industries with regards to the challenges y'all had?
I would say my expertise again lies in international media. So I wouldn't be able to speak to exactly the opportunities that's available currently in Sri Lanka. But one of the things that you could do is to include media and as part of education. You start at a young age introducing skills that's needed for whatever it is, whether it's journalism, whether it's TV, whether it's film, introducing those skills as part of the education process so that you would train kids at a young age to be able to prepare them for the job market going in, so they would have the skills. Also, universities and colleges can invest in internships with companies that already are established in those industries and offer internships for students who are about to graduate or going through the program, so they get hands-on experience. I feel that doing that and giving exposure at a young age helps somebody be able to meet the standards that's required for a job that becomes available when they are ready to apply for it.
Thank you for that insightful answer. Sarah?
I think Chirangi covered well on a macro level, and on an individual level, I would say one thing that people should keep in mind is originality when it comes to media. I think a lot of your stories and a lot of what you put out into the world should when originality and individuality of yourself is kind of nurtured and maintained in the industry, I think you bring like a unique side to it, which is what we need. Fresh perspectives, new stories, and that can only come when you have a strong sense of identity, and so a lot of the stories that we do come from the interests of these journalists, like my friends and the waste plant, and they were just and it's because it's a part of their lifestyles, because she's always conscious of waste and how she can minimize her waste. So that's why she was interested in this story. So it comes from it's a very original story, and I feel like originality is something that will take someone very far in the media industry.
Completely. I agree with Sarah because, I mean, right now I'm doing some research on influencer credibility, right? And the data is so shocking, right? And people go behind reach. There is no originality in terms of content. And the constant debate between influencers and models is the reason why consumers look at influencers when buying or making purchase decisions is because of the relatability, right? Because these are real people, you know, talking about real problems and real solutions, right? So, and with trial and error, what has worked for them. So having said that, when influencers take on any product which they are not really vouching for, right, they become models, right? So what is really the difference between a model and an influencer, right? So when people are using media, because in my time, right, social media it didn't exist, right? We had to use mainstream media. So whenever we publish something, it goes to layers of, you know, filters, right? Say, for example, business news, it goes through the agency, the writer, then you get the marketing manager, then you get the CEO, the editor, and then it gets published, right? That's mainstream media. But now we have access to publish anything and everything we want, right? Unless the music in the background is copywritten. I mean, that's just the only limitation we get in terms of creating content, right? So we have to be really careful of what we're saying and then make sure it's researched, because we are really, you know, influencing people to do something or, you know, change their decision. And in terms of the industry, in terms of joining the industry, public relations industry is a great industry for women, right? In fact, globally, 63% of the female 53% of PR specialists are women, right? And even in the news sector, 51% of the females are dominating the newsrooms, right? So which means we do have the power, but we have a long way to go, right? Having said that, PR firm leadership is still governed by men, right? So we do have a long way to go, but it's changing. And industries like PR is great for females, right? Because of the qualities that we possess, right? One thing, multitasking, right? We have to manage a lot of information, a lot of clients, right? And I have a lot of females working for me, top writers who can manage from art to hotels to real estate to now our biggest strength, IT, right? So, you know, women are capable of handling such information. Even when women go to work, they are capable of managing their homes, right? And, you know, they are really good at multitasking, right? And PR is not just coordinating a press release or, you know, fixing name tags or things like that, right? It is a lot more, right? It's a little bit of adult babysitting, right? Which women are good at naturally, right? And then comes the rest, you know, from getting a client to handling media, you know, which women are really good at, right? So instead of really looking at the glass half full, I think it's a great industry for women to come into, and, you know, we can lead, you know, there are C-suite females in the PR industry, and it is one of the highest earning industries also. So it's not, you know, we are not setting ourselves below a man when it comes to work. Anyone else?
Fiona has, yeah.
Anyone else?
I think you covered it, Fiona. You highlighted quite a few points of how women can actually use some of their characteristics towards, you know, becoming more than what they feel that they can do in this industry. So there are a lot of possibilities, but the reason I feel that women might feel that they don't have as many opportunities is most of the roles are designed around men, because that has been the prominent gender in the industry. But like you said, if you make a few adjustments to what the expectations are of a person instead of becoming gender bias between, okay, what a woman can do and what a man can do. I think there will be a lot more possibilities within the industry.
True. We shouldn't we shouldn't limit ourselves in terms of the opportunities that we give, which is a great point, because I think we don't even take a seat, right? And I see so many females really not, declining job offers, international exposure, just because, they can't make it work, right? So we don't take that opportunity. So you're completely correct. Media or any other industry, we should take that opportunity.
And that's to what Sarah said, like we tend to put our own barriers for the most part, and we block ourselves, like we set up challenges for ourselves that might not be existent based on assumptions that we've made because of how society is. So if you're willing to see past some of that, and this is where I said the family support comes into play, is because you need the support. You need the community to support you. You need the industry to support you. You need your family to support you. And with those changes, you will see a shift in more females being able to be in the industry without feeling the guilt of, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Do I fit the profile of a mother or a wife or a daughter? If you can get away from that and make it a norm for women to be able to do both, to have a career and have a family, I think we open up more possibilities overall.
Thank you, Shiranji, for that insightful answer. And also, as you all mentioned, with regards to the, as in how to seek employment in the media industry, there are specific gender barriers as well and age as well. So say it's an undergraduate or someone graduated in the media field and they want to enter to the media industry, but they have the requirements, everything that they need for the position, but due to things like women not helping other women, as Fiona said, and because of the age, as Sarah said, and then some men don't want you to have it in the easy way. So having all of those qualifications, but these things like the outside world, things that really doesn't matter, is affecting you. How do you like really overcome all of those things? Because at a workplace, you can't really, there are certain like ways to be very proper and you should be very professional, even though sometimes things aren't very professional enough. So how do you like really make yourself known and get to a position, as in like just
I think that question, it has different components to it, Natalie, because one thing is, if you're coming out from a program, let's say a university program in either journalism, communication, or media, the exposure that you would have to the industry would already be somewhat prominent because you would have gotten the education to, or the skill set to be able to apply for a job and be able to compete with the rest of the other members who are applying for that same position. But if you're coming into the industry, like I came into the industry without having a background in media. So what I needed to do was to learn all of what needed to acquire the skills, basically, acquire the skills that's needed for those positions. And having an open mind to learn all of what is needed for your job and to understand the industry and take advantage of any opportunities that come your way to shadow a person, to sit down with somebody who is doing a different job, but you're interested in learning about it, go ahead and do that. A lot of people are open to the idea of teaching someone else. But you have to make the initial request as a person, and not everybody is going to be okay with it. Like Fiona said, there are people who are not very happy about having competition within the company. But if you come from a place where you are wanting to learn, you are interested in bettering yourself, therefore you will support the company succeed, because you have acquired knowledge and skills that not only pertain to one role, but you can use your skills and knowledge in various different roles within the company. That becomes an asset for them. So if you situate yourself in any organization where you can wear multiple hats and do multiple roles, then you become invaluable to whatever that organization is. So that would be my take on anyone who is trying to come into a field where they feel that they have challenges in learning or being able to be acknowledged for who they are. So learn and try to be current with all your knowledge.
Thank you, Shreyanji, for that insightful answer. I'm having a bit of a connection issue, so I'm just working on it. That's why I'm unable to turn on my camera. So please bear with me till I fix it. Is it okay if I proceed this way?
Yes.
So moving on. So as I said, now there are some women, they have full motive of being a journalist. Sorry, being a journalist, and they study for it. But sometimes later on, they decide to leave the full-time newsroom jobs. Any reasons or why that happened? Why does it happen?
Locally, can I comment?
Yeah, sure.
So locally, I feel like overall media is a bit underpaid, mainstream media especially. And I've noticed that they work a lot out of passion, which is good because the production comes out well. But however, I think they need to be rewarded for the things that they're producing. So in news, it's similarly, they're not really well paid, right? And the sad part is, and the other thing, the saddest part is there's not much business news going on in mainstream media. In fact, there's like 3 minutes of business news allocated in Sinhala news media for business news, right? So how can the majority of the population grow, if that's all we're talking about for 3 minutes, right? Whereas the rest of the 45 minutes will go on about, the politics and, the trauma that the country goes through, nothing positive goes there, right? So I feel like they leave it because one is pay, right? If they're managing news, they're more likely to go into PR because there's higher pay there, even if you join an agency or corporate communications. And if you are educated, if you have an academic background, you are not likely to stay in media. You will most probably join a corporate as head of corp comms or public relations, because your pay will be much better and your international exposure will rise along with it. Training, everything will be way more, right? So what I feel is with the people that I have, my peers, right, they've had a longer career path if they are not qualified, because they've had to remain in a media or agency industry. Whereas the people with the degree, they will join a corporate and, go into different places like all around the world and then come back. And then even if they start a PR agency or even if they start media, they have a wealth of knowledge to work with, as opposed to being in an agency or media. And another thing is the funding that goes behind the exposure. It's not just international exposure. Corporate usually invests in an employee's education. So you're most likely to get your master's if you are working for a corporate, as opposed to working in an agency or media, right? So a person who has joined PR with me, right, 10 years after, if I have been in corporate for 7 years and she has been in an agency for 7 years, our knowledge levels are in two different levels, right? Sometimes it makes it difficult for them to manage me, right? So they are friends. These are the people that, you work with for the past 10 years, but then you see that limitation when you go to brief, they don't just seem to get it, right? So that knowledge level really hinders work in terms of the media industry. Everyone else?
Thank you, Fiona. Shiranji, anything to add to it?
I will say that there's some of what Fiona said with the inequality of pay that probably pushes people in the media industry, women in the media industry, to leave. The other thing would be the inability to balance work and life because of the strain that you have due to the shifts that you might be having in media, and to be able to, manage a family at the same time. So I think that might be one of the reasons why women later on, like when you're younger, probably you might have the energy to keep up with the trend, but later on they might not be into pursuing a career in media because of that. And also, if there are no promotions that's available within the company for females, that there's no one that they can aspire to, that also could be a turn off to stick with that industry.
Thank you, Shiranji. Sarah, anything to add to it?
No, I think they pretty much covered all the points in that area.
Sure. So moving on. What are the challenges you have? Many female journalists consider leaving the profession due to online attacks and harassments. What are your views on it? So I think Sarah, you can answer.
I think personally, I haven't really encountered any online harassment to begin with, but I think for people that do, I think it's important to know when you come into media, like I said earlier, that you're putting your work on public display. Like that's the objective of your work, to be seen by more people, to be heard, to provide a voice to the story that you're working on. So it's something that whether you're a woman or a man should be ready for when you're stepping into the industry, because regardless of bad pay and long hours, like Fiona mentioned, people still want these done because it's coming from a place of passion. And when that happens, you need to also understand that it's inevitable for you to not face any backlash at all. And in that case, you lose originality, and you're gonna be someone that's another person that's in sensationalized news, and really not touching the territory of any controversy or anything that you might truly be passionate about. So I think when you're stepping into the industry, it's something that you should be ready for. So if it's it's something that that will happen, and we just have to be stronger than that.
Fiona, anything to add to it?
Well, I don't have a big online presence. So I think I shouldn't be answering question, but I see a lot of online hate going on. And I mean, honestly, people have nothing better to do, right? I mean, if they really, really focused on something better on themselves, right, they wouldn't have to, you know, go do hate speeches online. It's quite cowardly, I personally believe. And I mean, we don't have to like everything, right? It's subjective what we like, right? If you want to learn about makeup, you know, you'll get hundreds of influencers, you know, not everyone will work for us, right? So for influencers who are creating genuine content, research good content, I don't think, I mean, obviously they'll have to be prepared for online hate. But if they are genuinely doing a good job with their content, I think they should just keep going. Chirangi?
I would say, fortunately, I have not experienced any harassment online, but I feel that everyone has a different perspective. So you are not always going to make everyone happy with what you have to say and how you have to say it. So negativity is something that I think makes the media work in one way, because you do have to have different perspectives, and that kind of keeps the conversation going in a way. I think there are things that are in place right now. There are laws, and there's anti-bullying campaigns that have come on because there's so much online presence. And with the different circumstances changing, I think we'll see more and more ways of limiting that hate speech online. But it's something that we'll have to monitor and see how it goes. And just if you are getting some type of feedback, that means you have an audience. So sometimes any type of publicity is good publicity. Might be something that people go with the mindset when it is media. So you can see both sides of it. I would say, I hope nobody has to endure any type of harassment, but be open to the idea that others do have a different opinion, and sometimes you just have to have an open mind and listen to what they have to say.
I think that's a well-deserved answer for the question from all three of you. So moving on. So as Fiona said, in the PR industry, there are a lot of women enrolled. And so how public relation industry is female-led industry, and why? Was it recent, or has it always been like that?
Well, I mentioned most of it, but I don't know if it has always been like that. Well, I've always worked with a lot of women in PR. Yeah, very, very few men for the past 14 years that I worked with in PR. But it is mainly because, like I said, the multitasking, the information management, managing people, right? And attention to detail is one of the huge like key things, right? Because wherever we are, whether we are at an event or with the CEO is giving a leadership speech, or he's giving a video statement, you know, we have to pay attention to detail. If they're saying something wrong, if they're saying something politically incorrect, right? So we have the ability to understand that. So I think those would be the reasons for women to join PR and look at PR as a career option.
Thank you. Sarah?
Can you repeat the question again, if you don't mind?
It says how public relation industry is a female-led industry. And I was asking, has it always been that way, or was it recently?
I actually don't know much about the public relations industry in specific to really comment on that. So I will pass the question.
I would
Sure.
like to add more to it, right? So
Yeah.
I forgot the fact that, some people join the PR industry because it looks glamorous, right? Because they think of Samantha Jones from Sex and the City and, that's the publicist, but it's sometimes not very glamorous and it's stressful, but it's fun, right? It is really fun if you are enjoying what you do. You have to be open to information. Like Shirangi said, I think even in terms of the overall media industry, we have to be completely open to learning. And I think that's one of the key things that kept me going as a PR person, because we are always learning about new things. We create news, right? So it's very, very interesting. But the thing is, it is not a typical Samantha Jones model for PR. We play a critical role because we manage critical people in the company who drives business, right? So their messaging, their company images depend on that messaging. So it's important that we understand the power of it. And I really understood the power of it after I launched the book 4 years ago, right? I have already been in the PR industry for 12 years. And when I launched the book, the chief editors themselves turned up at the press conference, and I was, overjoyed. It was not about launching a book. It was like, oh my God, everything I worked for is paying off. That's what, made me happy that night when I went to bed, right? So, and if women or people in PR or people in media don't understand the power they have of influencing people, they don't understand the power of social advocacy, right? So we have the opportunity to create change, right? So, which is why we need to take a seat and play a bigger role and take that opportunity.
Thank you, Fiona. So we have reached to our last question. So all three of you can answer. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone starting out in the media industry? It can be internationally or here in Sri Lanka. So we'll start with Chiranji.
I would say be open to the concept of learning. You need to be able to adapt yourself, and to be adaptive, you need to learn. So if you constantly learn, get any knowledge that you can get your hands on, be open to the idea of being trained, be open to the idea of shadowing people and learning from them. Read articles. There's plenty of self-help videos on YouTube. Just go through those. I would say the number one thing in the media industry is that change is constant. You are going to go through change. Within a year, you're going to see so many different things that's going to come into the industry. And if you are going to hold on to your old ways, you become irrelevant. And you don't want to do that. Reinvent yourself and just learn as much as you can. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you stick to that one role. Learn everything about the industry that you can get your hands on, and you will be a better person for that.
Thank you, Chiranji. Fiona?
Yes, definitely learn, never stop learning, because, then you're stagnant basically. And as women, I would say, empower other people. You have the opportunity every day. It's not, you don't have to go out of the way. You don't have to start a foundation to help women, right? It's just everyday stuff, right? We go through this, even last month, we want to place an advertisement in Leader magazine, and the advertising manager was a female, and she gave me a really good rate, and she told me, pay in 2 months, it's not a problem. It's not a big deal. It's not rocket science. She just did something within her means, to help another woman out, right? And do that. Empower the juniors, whether it's males or females, right? Females do need more empowerment because we tend to stand back. And that's what I would say.
Sarah, anything to add to it?
Yeah, I think I would just say, like Fiona and Shirangi said, don't stop learning, because if you do, then you're going to be stagnant, and it is an ever changing industry. So you're going to have to, you know, constantly adapt and be agile. So have an open mind and also be courageous and kind of know what you can do and what you cannot do, and just kind of build your skills from there, and also develop soft skills, a lot of soft skills.
So thank you so much. It was really very insightful and very inspiring. Personally, for me, I do have really liking for PR side as well. And so actually, for me personally, it was a really great experience to get to know more about media and journalism as well. So thank you for coming, and thank you for sparing your time. Yeah, it was really, we really do appreciate having you all here. And I hope everyone here also had a really great time. And thanks for coming in. Have a great day.
Thank you, Natalie. Thanks, Sarah and Fiona and everyone else.
Thank you, Chirangi. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Natalie, and the Rotaract and I. Oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but thank you for organizing this.
And IBM Road Trip Club, thank you very much for having us.